Hey everyone, this is Cindy at an open door. It is April 28th. This is the hour we've entitled Where the Rubber Meets the Road, where we take an idea from A Course in Miracles and we talk about how we can use it in our dream world or our walking around world or whatever it is you want to call it. My guidance is, today we're going to talk about Miracle Lesson 31. It's amazing how often number 7 comes out. But today it's number 31. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to play a song. It's just an audio. It's not even a video. And then I'm going to read it again. And then we're going to see what Cindy says for a minute or two because Cindy doesn't know yet. Talking to what Rana was just talking about, allowing the present moment to inspire us. And then we'll open it up. Well, and then Andrew will share, and then we'll open it up to general conversation. Gotta be honest here, you know. All right. So, miracle principle number 31 reads, miracles should inspire gratitude, not awe. Human beings should thank God for what they really are. The children of God are very holy. Miracle honors their holiness. God's creations cannot lose their holiness, though it can be hidden. The miracle uncovers it and brings it into the light where it belongs. Holiness can never be really hidden in darkness. But a person can deceive himself on this point. This illusion makes him fearful, because in his heart he knows it is an illusion. As with all illusions, he exerts enormous efforts to establish its validity. The miracle sets validity where it belongs. Eternal validity belongs only to the Spirit. The miracle acknowledges only the truth. It thus dispels a person's illusions about himself and puts him into communion with himself. Now, a few minutes of musical interlude, and I promise I will not be singing. Here we go.
This moment comes, this moment goes. I am awareness, this one who knows. Be still my heart, be still my body, be still my mind. I sit in stillness, my mind at rest. I feel such beauty here inside my breast. Be still my heart, be still my body, be still my mind. Beyond all time, beyond all space, beyond all care, there's a good that knows no opposite. I'll meet you there. And when I leave this mortal plane, I know I'm coming home again. Be still my heart, be still my body, be still my mind. Be still my heart, be still my body, be still my mind. Be still my heart, be still my body, be still my mind.
Miracles should inspire gratitude, not awe. Human beings should thank God for what they really are. The children of God are very holy. The miracle honors their holiness. God's creations cannot lose their holiness, though it can be hidden. The miracle uncovers it and brings it into the light where it belongs. Holiness can never be really hidden in darkness, but a person can deceive himself on this point. This illusion makes him fearful, because in his heart he knows it is an illusion. As with all illusions, he exerts enormous efforts to establish its validity. Miracle sets validity where it belongs. Eternal validity belongs only to the Spirit. The miracle acknowledges only the truth. It thus dispels a person's illusions about himself, puts him into communion with himself. So, as uh, as how I am typically most inspired to share, it's about this life journey and how these teachings affect it. And today, these teachings are hanging out in the borderland with symptoms one would normally call the quote unquote common cold. And it's very interesting. I have nothing against the actual symptoms, the fatigue, the congestion, the achiness. I find it interesting that they all waited until I walked in the door from my weekend. Like there was no sign of them until I got into the house this morning, and then they sort of filled me. That being said, I'm sitting in the teaching, and I'm very curious about how the mind responds in all the different ways. And that's what I want to bring into our conversation. And there were two key things. Number one, the thinking mind was using uh, the Joel Goldsmith teachings against me. I don't know how to put it any other way. Um, but for a while, there was this sense of, well, this shouldn't be happening to me. If I were, and again, we've talked about this before, but I'm speaking from a direct kind of feeling that the actual symptoms were not what was creating any type of suffering. It was the fact that if I, after all these years of studying this work and being with Joel Goldsmith, and Joel Goldsmith says, and this is what you got to do, and I've been doing it every day. Um, um, there was just these few moments there of feeling like a failure for having cold symptoms. And as soon as I saw that, I started to laugh, by the way. It got really funny, and that started to dispel. And then I saw this gift, there's a real gift in looking at all the other things that come up. So I was taught, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times someone in my family has told me that a cold lasts 7 days if you take medication and a week if you don't. That's the statement. So there was this programmed belief that no matter what I do, once this cold virus or bacteria or whatever this is strikes, I got it for a week. Now, or 7 days, depending on whether or not I take medication. And there it was. My whole life changes every time I see that I can make Richard laugh, by the way. And so there was even this thought, if I share this, Richard's going to laugh. And now I'm tickled pink. Um, so it's not the cold symptoms that I've been sitting with. They come and they go. And it's so interesting how I could be resting and forget for a minute that, oh, I'm experiencing congestion. And then the mind, I catch it in the mind first, which is so interesting. The mind reminds me that I'm fatigued and I have body aches. And then I notice it, not the other way around. I've been slow enough, and I just did 2 diets to watch that happen. It's very, very interesting how there is a conditioned mind that tells me the symptoms are here, and then I feel them. And if I catch the thought fast enough and go look for them, they're not always there. They're almost never there, actually, or they're not what the mind told me was there. So the other part of this teaching, which is very valuable for where I am right now and how it works really well with the Joel Goldsmith teachings, is the pointing to how powerful the illusion is, right? Joel often talks about this entire world being a very, very, very powerful mesmerism. And this miracle principle is also talking about this idea that there is this thinking mind or conditioning or collective consciousness belief that is holding the illusion in place. What becomes so valuable with all of this for me, and what I want to share with you right now, is that I've been sitting in a very peaceful in and out space of saying, okay, Cindy's body mind is holding these symptoms, right? But they're just experiences until this mind grabs a hold. Like I'm watching the mind say, you will not be able to because, or you do not have enough energy to because. And that's where the suffering comes from, all of this projecting. And then there's this question and this experiment and this opportunity. I wonder what happens when it's just the thinking about what's going on right now, offering that for the atonement, right? Whatever the body does, the body's going to do. But if every time this thought comes up, there's no way I can take a walk in the sun later. I won't have the energy because I have a cold and I'm only on day one and it's going to last 7 days. It's programmed into the cells. But that's the opportunity to look at that. And regardless, if the only moment that exists is this, where does the week exist? Where does the 7 days exist? But in that illusory space and the expectation of what is transpiring. So I've never been so happy to be holding cold-like symptoms before. It's a very interesting experiment. And that's where I'm going to leave it for right now, other than to invite Andrew to share, and then we'll see what comes.
Thank you, Cindy. I hope I can contribute something. Human beings should thank God for what they really are. Well, we're not really human beings. We just think we are. Everything, all perception comes from belief. The first belief was separation. Before that, we had knowledge, and knowledge and perception are not compatible. So everything we perceive is just a belief. We believe we're human beings. Human beings have bodies. Bodies can be hurt or sick or do harm to others. But what is a miracle? A miracle is an expression of love. And miracles can affect the physical or the spiritual levels. Uh, there's no predicting what a miracle is going to how it's going to manifest. And I would like your cold to go away, Cindy. And we have to believe that that's possible in less than 7 days. Uh, that that's what comes to mind right now. That's really all I could think of, but I'll raise my hand if I think of something else.
Thank you. Rana.
Good morning. I'll raise my hand. It's funny because a lot of times I focus in on, negative conditioning, like seemingly, oh, why should a cold last 7 days? But we're conditioned to believe that. Now, in my household, I was conditioned to believe that I never had the flu more than 24 hours. Like, I don't even think it was the flu, but you get sick and you throw up, Every February, I would get sick for 24 hours. And that carried right into my adulthood because I hear that thought. If I start getting nauseous and it goes to that level, I hear, don't worry, it'll only be 24 hours. So it's so interesting just how I think that's the power that the mind has to make things. And what I liked about this paragraph is, it leads right into this conditioning is what hides and deceives truth. What's really going on, immediately creating a judgment based on a conditioned response. And I don't even know I'm doing it. I just accept it as fact because that's the way it's always been. And to be able to break that cycle, to step out of that, and start to question, because it points to the validity part that this conditioning is part of the validity of the illusion. And what really spoke to me was this word effort, that it takes a lot of effort for us to keep this illusion in place. And when I think of that, when I consider effort right now, what comes to me is a racing thinking mind to keep all the judgments and all the labels. And as I walk through my day, there's that narrator there as I go along, which I found I don't even need that. It's like the bad roommate that Michael Singer talks about, the inner roommate. I call it the bad roommate. You'd never let somebody live with you that talked to you like that or did that, and it just, on some days I can just notice it's wah, 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 wah. But I'm so grateful today to be able to step back from that and know that's, first of all, that's not who I am. I can observe that, I can take it to that borderland, and just question, is that true that I do this? What says it can't be different this time? How do I know that even happened in the past? I mean, you could drag a whole bunch of what we talk about into that. And then by then, I'm not even considering that I'm feeling ill anymore. That just disappears, because I'm thinking about truth or, using the mind more constructively and being open for new ideas. So the miracle acknowledges only the truth. So it pulls me out of the world and the crazy movie that's going on, and it gets me back to that basic, that stillness, and it's like, that's so delicious to be able to move from there rather than in that crazy state that my mind wants to make and create. I just love them. I just love it. That's just for me. Thank you.
As you were sharing, the thing that was coming up, which is also in this lesson, it's just curiosity is part of what's holding this experience in place is the fear. It talks about this fear, right? The fear of having the illusion dissolve. I'll take that chance, by the way, if anyone's asking, my guides or teachers or angels are asking you if I'm willing to step into that fear. 100%. As a good Dr. Hawkins student, I know that there's a really good chance that the experience of the fear that's been holding the illusion in place will be felt. And if I can, I'm going to stand still and allow it to express itself. Hey, Amy, we're so happy you're back. Or at least I'm going to speak from here. I am so happy you're back.
I am so happy to be back here. I carried all of you with me, so good morning to you. I will just say right up front that there are many times during the day when I thought about Rupert Spira's admonition that you can go any place, but you always carry yourself with you. Like you never really go anywhere. And there were multiple times during the day when I would be standing looking out at different things, some of which were very captivating, and realize even though I seem to be looking at a different projection, what's really in here is just so, it's home. It's just so, I never leave that. I never ever leave it. And so I thought of all of you many, many times, because on this trip, we had probably 20 people that came on the trip. And I realized each one of them was a child of God, but there wasn't a single person that I could talk to like this, that I could have this conversation with. And so the gratitude that I feel for each and every one of you to be able to share this is really, it's beyond anything I can speak about in terms of value. Getting to the lesson, gratitude. The gratitude, all of us have had this, and it's so hard to describe, but when we have these moments of clarity where the veil goes up and we truly recognize, we sense, we taste, we understand, we know, like the light goes on and we realize what we are. And every fear is dispelled in that instant. Every worry, everything. And we realize, oh, that's what I am. And Dago knows this. Oh, that's what I am. And then the door slams shut again. That's the gratitude. Oh, thank you for showing me what I am. And in my earlier days, I would grasp that and try to come back to it and try to remember it and try to hang on to it. And you can't. You can't hang on to that. It's a moment of grace. And that's the miracle. And that's, to me, when I when I really experience pure gratitude, it comes as a result of being in my knowing of what I truly am. And you can't make that happen. You can't seek it out. You can't think it through. It just illuminates. It just illuminates. That's it for now. That's it for now. I have a lot of things to say about, if the time, it could be any time, but about some of the things that we saw in Herculaneum when the lava flow hit in Herculaneum. It was traveling at something like 600 miles an hour, and it just buried everything in 2,000-degree heat. And there was a place that we went down to where there were all of these, right on what was the beach. It created a whole new beach. But we went down and we looked in these caverns, these artificial, or these built-in caverns where that the Romans had made to store their boats, their fishing boats. And people went down into them to try to escape the heat and the ash, and they got immediately buried in this lava flow. It wasn't a lava flow, there's a name for it. And we went down in and we could see the skeletons, and they were all made of stone. They weren't bone anymore. They were just basically incinerated, and there were little kids in there, and you could see people holding on to each other and cradling each other. And I have some thoughts about that I'll share at a later point, but thank you for this, Cindy, and I'm so glad to be back with you all. And
Thank you. Livy Love is in the house.
Hey, everybody. Oh, Amy, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on what you saw. I really do look forward to that. Yeah, this lesson is perfect. You know, everything is for me. And this lesson is right on time, and specifically because I really have been just in fear and so in the illusion. And when it says the miracle sets validity where it belongs. And that really speaks to me, because what's been coming up for me is the need that I've always had with the conditioning that comes from outside myself. Any kind of validity comes outside myself. And, you know, I've told y'all that when I get up in the morning, I say, you know, how can I best be the best expression of your love in the world today? And it's like the answer currently is to recognize that I am love and to treat myself that way. You know, and it says, the miracle, as was read previously, the miracle acknowledges only the truth. It thus dispels a person's illusions about himself and puts him into communion with himself and with God. And I'm so grateful for the guidance that I get from y'all. And, you know, I spoke with Rana before the meeting, and she helped guide me and just really put a name and be able to put out there what I've been experiencing and the fear of being caught in the illusion. And I'm grateful for this, you know, to have y'all to remind me that the validity is that the miracle sets the validity where it belongs. And so I'm just really, really grateful for this teaching and for the reminder that it's not out there, that I have everything that I need right here, right now, in this moment, is number one, it's all that is. And number two, I have everything I need, and including the love for myself is right here in this moment. And so thank y'all for help guiding me to that place. And yeah. So anyway, just wanted to share that with y'all and just really thank you very, very much.
Thank you very, very much. Richard's about to tell us he loves us. At least that's
Hi,
what my
everybody.
memory and my
Love you
conditioning
all,
says.
and welcome back, Amy and Cindy. Great conversation so far, as always. I I thought of gratitude. I thought when I heard that word gratitude with Miracle Principle 31, the immediate thing that came to mind was I'm grateful for that Richard got out of the way, and in his getting out of the way as a separate self, the love that he is in truth, and we all are in truth, manifested within the dream, so it could be perceived as love, and that was a miracle. And so that's what came to my mind. But then I listened to Cindy's talk about the cold, and I was reminded for the last 3 or 4 years, thanks to all of you and meetings like this, I've come to the realization of I'm no longer a separate self. I no longer identify most of the time as the hero of the dream. I realize I'm the dreamer of the dream. And so having that knowledge, I thought when I had that knowledge, the separate self would disappear. But that hasn't happened. So apparently the separate self is my experience portal. How to experience life as a separate self and a dense environment called time, space, and form. So then as a result of that, I have more power than I ever thought I had as a separate self. I'm now the dream of the dream. So the last 3 or 4 years, when I've experienced something like a cold starting or something else, I go, whoa, stop. I've been there, done that. I don't need this experience anymore. I've done it before. So go away. I don't need you anymore. I'm ready for a new experience. And surprisingly, it works. I wake up the next morning, I'm good. I'm good to go. So I don't know if that's any truth in what I just shared, but right now it's working for me. I use that quite a bit. Whenever I get a feeling in my body like maybe I'm coming down with something, or maybe I'm dying or whatever, I go, nah, this is an upgrade. I'm being upgraded like a software program, and I'm going through this discovery because I'm being upgraded because I have a larger function to do as a separate self within the dream. So that really helps me get through whatever accepted. Of course, I have to accept I'm being upgraded, and it passes, and I'm back to my new normal as an upgraded human being within the dream. So I just felt that I should share that with you all. That's my path currently. So love you all.
I appreciate that very much. And I have another story, and there's an expectation that Richard will laugh. Now, I'm not holding on to this expectation, but he's already laughing. So, but this weekend gave me 10,000 plus opportunities, right, to see Cindy's conditioning. living with my parents and having my sisters and 200 of my closest relatives, blah, blah, blah. And lots of opportunities to see where I am more at peace and also to notice where I can still be triggered, right? There is, man, did you know that Cindy's not perfect? Just in case you didn't know. So, the fear, like the sense of beating myself up a little bit, you know, when I step out of being the master of my experience in any given moment is what part of what I saw. But what happened was we were sitting around my mother's table and I was there, my sister was there, my mother was there, Emma was sitting next to me, and my other daughter was across from me. I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but I was starting to get triggered by the way my mother's view of the world. And I can't even remember what I said, right? Emma turned around and looked at me and she said, Mom, breathe out of your feet. And in that moment, I laughed until my belly hurt. And Shari, my sisters heard me do it. And Shari my other daughter looked at me and said, Yes, Mom, that's right. We listened to you. And I realized in that moment that my children were feeding my teachings back to me. You know, Lisa Natoli always says, you know, where are your feet? That's part of her teaching. I invite my children when they're starting to get anxious and my sisters and anyone else who listens to me in the world, just take a moment and breathe from the bottom of your feet. And if you do it, you remember where you are in the present moment and everything comes back to balance. Having Emma say that back to me in that moment, I couldn't stop laughing. And even as upset my mother was getting, because for some reason she decided we were laughing at her and had nothing to do with that. And I didn't even attempt to like explain it. But in that moment, something dropped relative to all of this. That part of what's being healed here is Cindy's identification with being the dream character, like Richard was saying, and being extra like this belief that the dream character is awakening. I saw it like in when the dream character wasn't awake, you know. I saw the dream character get really pissed off because the dream character wasn't being open and you know the guru and the moment, whatever. I don't like I'm putting words to an experience that I didn't even know was happening. But sinking into the understanding that the dream character ain't gonna awake from the dream character can do, using Richard's term, do whatever the dream character's gonna do. And what I am can remain at peace and aware and fully participatory, but not constrained by it. And that's feels like part of what's happening the same with whatever these cold symptoms are. Can I allow the experience of a cold without the mind telling me I've quote unquote fucked up the teaching because it's happening? How ridiculous is that? Yeah, it was so cool. And I could go on. Like Emma having her car stolen 3 times, she's a completely new person now. Her peaceful, easy demeanor, even when a bucket hit the car and broke the fender on my car, Emma's just going, "Oh, that just happened." You know, it's like, "Oh my Lord." Yeah. Rana.
Hi, it's me again. I think that I just forgot what I was going to share. You know, that sense where you're just like, oh, shoot, it's like completely gone. I was told not to try to retrieve it. Okay, this is what it was. I recalled what this mind did when you were sharing your story, right? Immediately, this mind pictures a time when I have woken up with a cold. And the thought around that is always, where did I get that? Who did I get that from? So with Cindy, you're talking about it, and the mind was like, see, you go in a crowd of people and you get a cold. That's what happens, and it's just so funny because it's just another example how this limited self wants to keep me so small. It wants to give me a reason not to go anywhere. Be afraid you might get a cold. It's not the end of the world. What I do with colds once I recognize it is I go outside and I say, sickness, get off me. But I've been doing that since I met you guys. What I do now, or I don't know what I do now because it's, knock on wood, another thought. It's been years, but with anything physical, what I'm being taught here is to sit with it and notice sensations and see how I label them as objects, and then see how the mind labels them as good or bad. It can be used just like anything else in our experience. It's another opportunity. So thank you for that reminder, Cindy.
The last time I had any symptoms like this was when I tested positive for COVID. And that was like, what was that, 2021? Yeah. So maybe that's part of this. Be here now with whatever's arising. The idea that I am now too spiritual to ever have this experience and label the experience, like you said, good or bad. Not going there right now. Well, I'm watching it come up. Like somehow I did something wrong. And I saw that too. Like my younger sister was sneezing all over the place. And I saw the thought, like, oh no. But I didn't respond to it consciously. Sandra was at a wedding this weekend too. You gonna unmute?
There it is. Hi. Yes, I missed, even though I only missed a few days, it felt like a long time being without you, my friends. So this is really impactful, this whole discussion. And as I was looking at this page, I have not read these miracle principles in a while. And I'm just looking at the page, just this one page, and every time I look, the word miracles keeps popping up. Miracles, miracles, miracles. And it's a Course in Miracles. And so throughout the years of reading this and talking about it with others and studying the text and doing the lessons, it occurred to me that at some point I stopped expecting miracles. I started out with the full expectation that if I read this text and I did these lessons, miracles would just be happening all the time. And I mean miracles in the sense, like in the Bible, like Jesus healed the sick and walked on water. And I don't know if I did not expect to walk on water, but I certainly felt that sickness would go away. So where I am now is I'm back to the very beginning. This book is true. These words are true. I've said this before. I fully believe in miracles. And I have experienced them. I grew up, as my mother called me, a sickly child. I was sick all the time. I had lots of illnesses and lots of experience with sickness. And I am not a sickly person anymore. The character is not a sickly person. It's not just that the essence and the true self, it's the whole thing. And when something happens, everybody's talked about their process. The process that happens with me almost simultaneously is the whole Hawkins thing, whereas, oh, that's a sensation. That's all it is. It's a sensation. It doesn't get labeled. And then I forget about it. And the next thing I know, the body has healed itself. Now, does that mean I haven't experienced? No, I still do have those experiences. I don't know where I'm going with this, other than that I think on some level, I was told that there was a reason I was choosing sickness. It was giving me something in this experience that I wanted. And one time I became very aware that it got me out of things. That was my way. I'm an introvert. That got me out of going places and doing things. It also got me attention from my mother, where I never had any. But anyway, it got me that. So there, on some level, and I don't know what it is, I don't believe I've been upgraded in any way. I like that word, Richard. I wish the miracle is on multiple levels. It's not just what I thought it would be. It's not just the healing. It's not just the reversal of the physical laws of the planet. It's so much more than that. What is the miracle? The miracle is complete and total realization, that's the word, realization of the truth of being. That's the biggest of the miracles, I guess. And then others kind of flow from that. And it says there's no order of difficulty, but sometimes I like to call them little miracles and big miracles. I still like to do that, even though there's supposedly no order of difficulty. But they can happen all day long, walking around, just seeing things I never saw before, like the ladybug. And while you all were talking, a little bird came up to the ledge and peeked in. And I swear that little bird comes here every day to say hello and pecks on the window, like all these like miracles that now I'm aware of. Before I was just walking around in a fog, the veil, as Amy says. So I'm just like, I don't know why I wanted to say that, but I wanted to say that I went through phases with this, that the miracles are now very real. I let them go for a while because I thought they weren't really, that wasn't what was really happening. That's not what he meant when he wrote this. Oh no, yes he did. He meant real miracles. Real ones. Not just hopeful things. So I'm so glad I got that back. That trust and that belief and that certainty that feels so good. And if the eyes don't immediately see it, that's okay. I know it's there. I know. And so therefore, my husband is a really interesting character. And I love him dearly. He always says, I never get sick. He has been saying that for 40 years. Now that, you know, that man doesn't get sick. Everybody else can be sick. He just says, I never get sick. I hear him sneeze, but he just still says, I never get sick. And who was it? I think it was Rana who said the power of our minds, or maybe it was Amy, just that power that we have even when we don't know it. So I'm so happy that we have A Course in Miracles. Really, all of us here together are kind of a miracle in itself, don't you think? That we're all here from all over the place, and here we are together in this moment with each other, understanding what each other is saying. So, yeah, I'm grateful, and I have to confess, I am in awe also, even though it says not all. I still have awe about it. It's amazing, to use Nindego's word. Amazing. Thank you for listening to me. I love being with you.
I'm gonna
Amy.
do a Rana thing and say, which Rana, you were so cute. Oh my God. I forgot what I was going to say. Julie has her hand up and she hasn't spoken. I just wanted to keep it short then, that when Sandra said that miracles happen on multiple different levels, that really resonated with me, because they're just, the truth expresses in infinite ways. So miracles happen on multiple different levels. It's not like there's just one lesson, you know. I watched just one of the folks on the trip got a really bad cold. I felt really awful for her, but she was such a trooper. She bucked up, but she said, I know when the person that was around me sneezed, she sneezed right on me, and that's when I got the cold. And I saw, I couldn't say anything to her, but I saw exactly how the egoic mind works. And then I also watched myself like stand a little bit away from her, because I thought, I don't want to get sick on this trip, because it was obvious her expression was of such misery when she had that cold, and in the schedule, it's like boom, 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 boom. You have to stay on the schedule. And so I watched that, all of that, my little mind with all these little things happening, because Cindy is such a good teacher about really being in the moment and watching what happens without judging, just watching it and watching it. And so it was good for me to see myself kind of, ooh, but on a level of the real world, it was a wise thing to keep my distance. There's nothing wrong with that. It wasn't a judgment. It was just using the intelligence that Source gave to me as a seemingly separate person. But at the same time, extending love and compassion to this person and admiring her for her strength in still getting up, and she wearing a mask, and keeping being respectful for all of us. So thank you, Sandra. As usual, you said many things. I can't remember what they all were, but I know you said many really good things.
Hi, Julie. Welcome.
There I am. All right. Hello, everyone. Grateful to be here. Well, I guess, well, I'm going to be honest. I'm still new at this, and so when I listen, then my brain, the ego, is like, oh, I'm never going to get this. These guys sound so wise, and then good friends Ron and Livy keep an open mind and just keep reading and keep asking questions. And so that's what I have to do, because growing up I didn't ask a lot of questions because I always felt stupid if I asked a question. And so right there, that's what's triggering me is, well, I don't want to ask a question because then you're all going to think I'm stupid. So that's where I have to work on that ego, because I'm not. And yesterday I went for a hike and part with my dog, which I love hiking. And it was beautiful weather here. And I like that Michael singer, is that his name, that we listened to on Thursday. So I found his podcast. And so I listened to him while I was hiking, and I really loved it because it was talking about embracing growth and spiritual growth in every moment. And what I like about podcast is that I can keep repeating it because I have to hear things several times to learn it. But it was really it really was like really just enjoying that moment, And then this morning in another meeting I'm with Libby and Rana, I realized I forgot about Rana's graduation ceremony, whatever, yesterday. I'm like, oh, fudge. I can't believe I forgot that. And I was so mad at myself for forgetting that. But I wasn't, but I guess I wasn't supposed to be, I have to realize that it's okay. I didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't a mean act. It just was slipped my mind. If I don't write things down, I don't remember. And I was home by that time. So it wasn't like because I was hiking. But I have to just really be kind to myself. And also I'm learning that I am a creation of God from what I'm learning, and that it's all about love. And that when I was that it's just being this beautiful person to look at every moment. And when Amy was talking about her trip, my husband and I are going on our first European trip in May 10th. And so we both got the COVID boosters because, I want to, but I'm thinking, and I'm one that never gets sick either. I'm very proud of that. But then I'm thinking, what if I get sick? Then I'm going to be all mad saying, well, I got that dang shot. Why shouldn't I be getting sick? So I can just hear my ego going. So I'm grateful for you guys with this, because now it's going to be like, okay, just enjoy. You're getting to do this with your husband, celebrating being, married, and just celebration of life. And so I'm really thankful that I'm here, because it's that pausing and just really being in the moment and really looking how the mind does work, and that it's just a thought, like I'm learning, and that thought will pass and doesn't mean it's real. Just like my feelings, like I might be feeling nervous right now, but that feeling is going to pass too. And so I'm really grateful for that, from learning from all of you guys. I just have to be kinder to myself, because I always want to be quicker to learn than I am. And I have to realize that it's not a marathon. It's not a race. It's just, each day, and some days are better than others. And, like Cindy said, she's not perfect. And that was good for me to remember that too. None of us are perfect. We're just trying to be better human beings on this planet. So thank you.
It's part of my personality, but I have to acknowledge, in all honesty, I am no longer attempting to be a better human being. It's not my goal. Humans come and they go. It's not who I am. It's a temporary experience. My desire is to be the embodiment of the truth of who I am, which is not a human being. The human being is an experience. What I am is that which is having that I am a unique expression of what created me, having an experience. I did that for me, not for you, Julie, because I often walk around saying, shit, that wasn't kind, or that wasn't this, but it comes from this conditioning that states being a human is a thing and a form, and it keeps, but if you really look at it, every time I say I'm just a human being, what I'm also saying is somehow is I've separated from the divine, and I don't buy that as a truth statement. So, hey, Amy.
I want to thank you for saying that, Cindy, because I think we think that we should be good, but as who was it that we listened to? Christian
Sundberg. Christian Sundberg.
Who was it that he said the thing is to be authentic. Be your authentic self. Find your authenticity and be your authentic self. And if that means getting totally friggin' pissed off, then do it. Don't be a good boy or a good girl, right? Be your authentic self, and then take responsibility for what you choose. That's it. So thank you for reminding us of that, Julie and Cindy.
Wow. the hour. So much for, well, linear time's an illusion. I love us very much. I'm going to stop the recording, take a breath for whoever wants to. We are going to hang out with the guides for a while at 3 p.m. Eastern, this same that channel.
I would
Here
love
go.
to hang out, Cindy. I've got a site walk I have to do, and I need to get my button gear right now because I've been gone. I have to restock my refrigerator. So thank you for this. I love seeing everyone. I'm gonna
Great to see you, Amy. So
Ah.
glad you're back.